It's late on a Sunday night, but the content and the coverage never ends here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Appreciate all of you for hanging out here with me. My name is Chase Sr., and we have another loaded show coming your way. Major Jalen Carter update from ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter. According to Jay Glazer, NFL insider for Fox Sports, Howie Roseman made the biggest offer to the Dallas Cowboys for Micah Parsons, and it was a blockbuster deal. Observations also from across the NFC East and across the NFC. It's all coming your way. Let's begin with the latest around Jalen Carter. I've done a couple of videos on this because it continues to be one of the top stories in the NFL. And let me just start by saying, inexcusable, idiotic for Jalen Carter to walk up to Dak Prescott and spit on his chest. Emotionally immature. He nearly cost his team the ball game. It's a slap in the face to all of his teammates. Jalen Carter needs to be better. And there is no room for that in any walk of life, whether it's on the street or on the football field. And with this happening, the first game of the NFL season, with the world watching, it magnifies the situation tenfold, which is why this continues to be a hot button topic for fans and everybody who likes and watches the game of football. And I'll tell you this, man. Philadelphia fans threw snowballs at Santa Claus in 1968. People are still talking about that, and they still hold it against Philadelphians because they refer to us as the worst fans in the world. A lot of people don't realize that when Philadelphia fans threw snowballs at Santa Claus, it was a joke. There was supposed to be a legitimate Santa, and then there was a bad Santa, not Billy Bob Thornton, but like a poor-looking Santa who wasn't a legitimate-looking Santa. And so as a joke, Eagles fans at Franklin Field were throwing snowballs at Santa Claus, and people still bring it up time and time again. And it was a pretty eventful 48 hours, couple of days for Philadelphia and Philly fans. You had Jalen Carter spitting on the chest of Dak Prescott. And then you had Philly's Karen at the Miami Marlins game taking the home run ball away from the little kid because she doesn't realize that when a home run is hit, it's free game. I don't care where you're sitting. Anybody can go get that home run ball if it's on the ground. And so many eyes have been on the city of Philadelphia, us as fans, Jalen Carter, Philly's Karen, and there's no way that the mainstream media is going to blow this out of proportion because they never do anything like that, right? And so it kind of gives you a foundation and some context for why everybody is obsessed with this subject matter, plus the lasting images of it, plus it's Eagles, Cowboys, Jalen Carter in the face of Dak Prescott, and the NFL is really trying to clean up sportsmanship. They want this to be a model game. In the NFL right now, business is booming. Franchise valuations are absurd levels of money. Like the Dallas Cowboys are worth $11 to $12 billion. You have owners like Jeffrey Lurie of the Eagles and Jed York of the Niners selling stakes of their organization for bags and bags in cash. The NFL is just in this spot right now where it has a stranglehold over America. This is America's game. This is America's sport. And the NFL clearly has this effort to make it a worldwide game. They're raking in money from sponsors. They're raking in money from TV deals. There's a new television deal looming. NFL Network purchased by ESPN. You get the point. The NFL wants to cater to everybody. It's bringing in all of this money. It's driving revenue. The popularity has never been so high. The demand has never been so great. And so the NFL does not want situations like this happening, especially when everybody is watching for the first game. And you have a player in Jalen Carter who had that checkered past at Georgia. And during his NFL career, there have been some moments that haven't been great for him. That situation with John Feliciano of the Niners when he was a rookie, the sideline spat going up against the New Orleans Saints. I love how Jalen Carter is psycho. It's part of what makes him a great player. That type of mentality, how he's wired, leads him to play the way that he plays. And that's what makes him unique, special, and great. But he needs to harness it a little bit. And here's the update from Adam Schefter. I know Dak Prescott spit first. I'm not excusing what Jaylen Carter did. But Dak Prescott provoked the incident. And I think it's worth noting that everybody is trying to make Dak out to be a choir boy. He went out of his way to go in between two offensive linemen. He looked at Jaylen Carter. He spit on the ground, looked at him, nodded his head, and said, "Yeah." That's not a normal thing to do. That is a clear act of taunting. That is a clear effort to provoke Jaylen Carter. And good job by Dak. That's a veteran move to get the Eagles' best player booted from the game. Cowboys nearly won because Jaylen Carter didn't play. And Jaylen Carter bit the bait. Bad job by Carter. Good job by Dak. But the video of Dak changes a lot of things in this situation for me because it's Dak who started it. And so I think if Jaylen Carter gets suspended an additional game and Dak does not face a penalty, that's a joke. Dak should get fined. Jaylen Carter should have a greater fine. And for a spit, Jaylen Carter served his 1-game suspension. Should he get an additional game as far as his suspension goes? I think that'd be a little bit too overboard. We saw on Friday night the Chargers defensive tackle, Tart, right? He open hand slapped Travis Kelce. Do you think the NFL wants that to be shown, especially with how seriously they're taking domestic violence, the image of their league, and sportsmanship? Yet that's only a 15-yard penalty. And you know what's crazy? By rule, it's only a 15-yard penalty and not an ejection because it was an open hand, not a closed fist. Jaylen Carter spit on Dak. He should get suspended 1 game and get a fat fine. If he's suspended an additional game, I think the NFL is trying to save face for Kansas City going into week 2 because they don't want the Chiefs to be 0-2. But there's this report from Adam Schefter, which leads me to believe that it is realistic that Carter gets suspended for this Kansas City game, Super Bowl 59 rematch. And here's what Schefter had to report. As the Philadelphia Eagles await any further discipline for standout defensive tackle Jaylen Carter, a speech from the spring could be instructive as to where the NFL might end up. At the owners' meetings in Palm Beach, Florida, NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations Troy Vincent, former Eagle, told head coaches, GMs, and executives gathered in one room that sportsmanship posed one of the biggest threats to the league's brand. What did I mention earlier? All had to do with branding. During that meeting, Vincent warned coaches, GMs, and executives that there would be, as one source recalled, zero tolerance for acts that demean the game and that the league would come down hard on any violators. The NFL is now mulling what discipline to impose on Carter, who was ejected Thursday night after he spit on Dak Prescott before the very first play from scrimmage. At the very least, Carter will face a substantial fine, and he could also be suspended, sources told ESPN. A decision by the NFL is expected Monday, according to sources, as the Eagles return to work and get ready for their Super Bowl rematch against Kansas City. Sportsmanship is hardly the NFL's only point of emphasis from this past offseason. The league also is vowing to crack down on player celebrations that involve violent gestures and are sexually suggestive in nature. The NFL saw too much of it last year, and it will be flagged more frequently this season. You read that from Schefter. Obviously, he's plugged in. And more than before, I'm like, shoot, is he going to get suspended for this Kansas City game too? Now, I mentioned on a YouTube short what Ian Rappaport had said, that he thinks it's far-fetched that Carter, because he got suspended before the game really started against the Dallas Cowboys, would get suspended another game. Because usually when a player gets suspended, it's that game that serves as the suspension. But that was before. This is now. And the NFL has a no-tolerance policy, and they could look to make an example out of Jaylen Carter. And you know what? If the NFL makes that decision, they know they'll be in the good graces of a lot of fans, a lot of media members, because as we know, media members and fans love to hate on the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm recording this right now, current time, 9:20 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night. Week 1, dwindling down. Ravens, Bills, doing battle in Buffalo right now. We'll have a decision by tomorrow, I guess, Monday, and we'll see. But I don't know which way this goes. I'm not feeling confident either way. All right, still to come. Eagles made the biggest offer to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Observations from across the NFC East and across the NFC. Let's get to our sponsor, though. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Look, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Right now, you get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. For instance, Thursday night, the special for Dak Prescott. All he had to do was throw for more than a half passing yard. Check. We had Jalen Hurts more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Ran it in for 2 scores. That's how it works on the more or less. Prize Picks invented the flex play. They have injury insurance. If a player gets hurt in the first half, they will not count it against you. And so download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. How about this? Jay Glazer, NFL insider for Fox Sports, very tight with Lane Johnson. I've spoken to Jay about Lane Johnson before, because they are so tight and they're close friends. They train with one another. And Jay Glazer is very tapped in to the Eagles organization, and he's very well sourced as an NFL insider. And on the pregame show on Fox, he said that Howie Roseman and the Eagles offered the Dallas Cowboys the biggest trade package for Micah Parsons. 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, a fifth, amongst other things. Plus, the Eagles, of course, would have had to have given Micah Parsons a contract extension. What did the Cowboys instead do? Instead of taking that deal from Howie Roseman and the Eagles, because they couldn't stand to see Micah ball out for the Birds, they took 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, who played pretty well for Dallas on Thursday, helping the Cowboys fare well against the run. But that package is not close to 2 ones, a third, and a fifth, and probably another player. If they wanted Moro Ajomo or Jordan Davis, they could have been in the deal because Jerry wanted a defensive tackle back to improve the run. It could have been a Jalix Hunt or a Nolan Smith. It's kind of shocking that Howie Roseman would offer all of that and then give Parsons $41+ million per year. But Howie really values the pass rush, loves getting stars, loves to steal headlines, would love to see Vic Fangio utilize and maximize Parsons to stuff it in the face of the Dallas Cowboys. And shoot, what did Howie do after the Eagles beat Dallas? Wasn't content with the pass rush or the depth there at outside linebacker pass rusher. Signed Zadarius Smith. 69 career sacks going into year 11, 9 sacks last year, 3-time Pro Bowler and a former All-Pro. Crazy to think that Howie offered that for Micah, but I don't put it past him. This is what Howie Roseman does. Other takeaways across the NFC East and the NFC. Green Bay Packers look damn good, and they dominated the Detroit Lions. Micah Parsons had a sack late in that game. He was on a limited snap count, but Detroit could not run the ball. They could barely move the ball. I think Detroit is a team that was the number 1 seed in the NFC last year. They have to replace Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of the Bears, best offensive coordinator in the game. They have to replace Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, who's the head coach of the Jets, that Jets team looked a lot more buttoned up than they have in years past. Dan Campbell is a CEO head coach. He is not a play caller. And so replacing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn is not easy. And I think because of that, the Lions struggle a little bit, especially with how Ben Johnson elevated Jared Goff, who looked very pedestrian today. But the Green Bay Packers, good against the run. Micah Parsons popped at times. Offensively, they have a bunch of talent. They're still really young. Packers, legitimate threat to the Eagles in the NFC. The Commanders today, handling the Giants. You never felt as though the Giants were seriously going to threaten Washington. Jaden Daniels looked good, made plays with his arm, made plays with his feet. He was a little bit inaccurate. Deebo Samuel looked really good for Washington. And Cliff Kingsbury was using Deebo the same way that Kyle Shanahan used Deebo. Running back, gadget guy, receiver, making plays downfield, getting vertical, getting lateral. Deebo looked good. Looked like a motivated player who is a little bit more explosive, maybe a little bit faster. We'll see how he lasts throughout the whole year because he's had some injury problems. But week one, he upped the turn of the game and changed the game. Good pickup for Washington, it looked like. As far as the Giants go, their offensive line was bad. Malik Neighbors, top 5, top 10 wideout in the game. The Giants' front four, really good, and Jaden Daniels at times struggled against that Giants front four. Russell Wilson didn't look good, though, and the offensive line was horrible. They couldn't really run the ball. Russ was running for his life. Brian Dable did not clarify that Russ would start in week 2 for New York. Jackson Dart is the backup. He's more mobile. He might be able to create and evade pressure a little bit better. There was a lot of talk about the Giants improving their offensive line this offseason. Didn't really see it. Andrew Thomas didn't play, but that offensive line did not look good. And outside of Malik Neighbors at wide receiver, they're pretty average. They don't really have a good running back. Cam Scatterbo had one good play where he bulldozed a defender. But it's Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys in this division. Giants, 4th best team. Because I was impressed with how Dallas looked and how they played on Thursday night. Another notable game in the NFC, Niners with a wild win over the Seattle Seahawks. It was low scoring in that rivalry. It seems as though that's always the case. San Francisco is a very top-heavy roster. And already today, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings injured, both going to get MRIs tomorrow. And so if they suffer injuries, they could go from being a contender in the NFC to having another down year. They were number 1 in injury rate last year. But what I liked from the Niners, Brock Purdy threw 2 bad picks and then went 6 for 6 on a game-winning drive. Their young defense, they're relying on 6 rookie defenders. They are awesome. I mean, they gave up under 3 yards per carry, no explosive plays through the pass game, pretty much downfield. And so that's a team to watch. I think Seattle's going to be really good. Their defense is legit. If they can get something out of Sam Darnold, we'll see. Then I think Seattle can be a dangerous team. Minnesota, Chicago, they play on Monday night. Be keeping tabs on that game. All right. Late on a Sunday night, I'm going to go home. I've been working since 7:30 a.m. this morning. Got a workout in, then went back to work. But appreciate everybody for tuning into the content. Going to enjoy this Sunday night game. And I'll catch you tomorrow. Should have a decision on Jaylen Carter.